Man, what is up with our defense? All right, everyone, welcome back to the American Blues Podcast. Let's talk about a couple things. Number one, let's talk about the Real Madrid Chelsea game where we lost 1-2. Overall, still, again, it's preseason. I don't want to be too negative on the team, but clearly, after 4 games now, we've seen our high line defense and just lack of pressure on the ball, still playing high line. That's been just absolutely wrecking our defense, making us so easy to play against. They're not even having to do really complex plays and intricate passing. No, it's just you make a run at the last four, and then put in a simple through ball either on the ground or over the top, and more than likely you're going to break the defense. And then it's just about, do you have the composure in the final third to score against us? And I would say that's definitely concerning, but again, it's still preseason. What I like to do is, I try to look at the game overall and like the team overall. I think for the past 2 years, pretty much every game we watch, I've been just screaming for like, where's our patterns of play? We have no patterns of play whatsoever. And that was a big criticism under Potter, Lampard, Pochettino, is that like our team had no identity. We didn't really have a set ways to play. Under Potter, it was just a complete mess. Attack didn't work. Defensive, nothing worked. Lampard, interim, we lost every game under him, so clearly nothing worked. And then Pochettino, our only game plan was to press, and hopefully we can win the ball and then catch him off guard. That was it. And then hopefully Cole Palmer can score. Beyond that, there really wasn't a good pattern of play. And so I think the most important thing that I've seen so far under Maresca is that this team is able to create chances. Like, we have legitimate patterns of play from midfield into either the wing or the eights onto the striker. Like, we have a plan. It just sometimes that plan falls through in the final third when players like Madueke have poor decision making, or especially players like Sterling. And then don't even get me started on Mudryk. My goodness. That guy just needs to go on a loan or be sold, cut his contract, whatever. But anyways, what I want to focus on is that we actually have a plan going forward, and that's refreshing to see. And that's only with 1 month training under a new manager. So that's pretty impressive in my book. Now, clearly we have issues in defense and in midfield when we are out of possession. And that is mainly that we are playing this insane suicidal high line almost at halfway up the field, and we don't put pressure on the ball when we lose it, right? So kind of like what a lot of people said about Tottenham last year, they looked great going forward, but they kept playing this crazy high line where it was so easy for them to just make midfield runs and break them. And it was only for the pace of their goalie and Van der Ven that prevented most of their goals. And we right now have the same issue. Our line is so high, and unfortunately, none of our defenders are all that fast. Reece James is still clearly not fully fit. He does not sprint. He's not as dynamic as he was before his injuries. Body Shield is like a tank. I don't know what happened to his legs. He just doesn't really sprint. He just jogs to everything. And then Fofana is actually fast. Colwell, I would say, is like midway. So, we don't really have super pacey defenders to be able to survive a high line like that when we don't put pressure on the ball. And what was really interesting was Maresca's post-match interview where he said he doesn't really know why we played this way. He blamed it on bad habits from the previous seasons. Honestly, I don't remember us playing such a high line in the last 2 seasons and just leaking goals. Now, we did leak goals, but it was kind of for a different reason. It was our midfielders didn't track back. And again, we have no leader in our defense. And I think that's one of the biggest problems, is that we really need a vocal leader in our defense to kind of yell at everyone else, to know exactly where to hold the line, to coordinate the defense, to yell at midfields, to track back and cover people. And that's another problem, is that once we lose the ball, our midfielders kind of just jog back. And that's just not good enough. It's a team game. We attack in numbers and we have to defend in numbers. But I do think it's way too early to panic about the defense. I think we will be giving up many goals in the exact same way we did against Real Madrid this season until the team has had enough time to better learn this way of playing. And I think the best way is to just, if you go back in time to how Pep first started at City and even how Klopp first started at Liverpool, those two teams were leaking quite a few goals on counters. And I remember pundits back then saying, why don't they have a plan D? Why don't they have a plan B? They play so high, they play so in possession that when they lose the ball, people just break on them and they lose. We have the same issue now. And you can see both of those teams were able to rectify that problem. And I do believe that Maresca is more than capable of recognizing the problem, because he's already said it, and then finding a solution to it. So I would say for now, don't panic about the defense. Focus on how much better our offense already looks after just 1 month under a new manager. And we don't even have some of our best players back yet. Now, as for the game itself, the starting lineup, I actually really enjoyed, except for Badiashile defense. I'm not really sure why we keep starting him apart from his height on set pieces, but that's not enough to make up for his deficiencies. His long range passing hasn't been there, but it's just his overall effort and knowing where to be in defense, it's just not cutting it. I don't know if it's a preseason thing, but it was the same issue at the end of last season too. So I think it's just a player problem. So I would much rather see Colwell, Fofana, James, and Gusto in the back, or Cucurella, than Badiashile starting. And then Jorgensen, I think most of the game he was actually pretty good, except for that one error for the second goal where he came out to no man's land. You can't do that. You either come out and you get the ball, or you stay in goal and you prevent a very easy shot from going in. Right? So mistakes, but again, it's only his second game with the team. He's still brand new. He's only been there for 2 weeks. Give him time. And I'd still much rather see him in goal than Sanchez any day of the week. Now, as for attack, like I said, I do think, number one, Lavia has been one of the best players this season. I can completely see what people were saying about his talent. This kid can do everything in midfield. He can receive a pass. He can break through the pressure. And once he does, he's one of the only players on the team who immediately looks up and then hits a long-range pass to the wing. And sometimes it doesn't come off, but most of the time it hits his man, and it starts off a really good break. And we need a player like that. Do I think Enzo could do the same in the position? I actually think Enzo really slows down the game. He likes to take an extra touch. He likes more of his finesse passes, and sometimes what we need is just a more dynamic player. And then on the final third, I still like Mark Guiu. He was keeping the Real Madrid center backs busy. Even though he didn't get a goal this game, I still think he's a really good talent. And I hope that Omarodian, who we'll get to in a little bit, does not mean that now Guiu is going to be third choice, or that we're going to be sending him out alone, because I think that's a big mistake. I see a very, very good player in him. And on the right side, Madueke has been electric. There's no single winger on the planet that's going to win every single duel and make the perfect decision in the final third every single time. But what I like about him is that if he makes a mistake, he tries again. He always takes on his man. Sometimes it comes off, sometimes it doesn't. But you kind of have to be like a goldfish in that position, which is you got to try. If it fails, forget about it and keep trying, keep trying. All we need for him is to succeed once or twice in a game to beat the man and make a good pass or score. And that's all the difference that he needs to make. Now, left side, less confident. I think Sterling does look much more comfortable in a system like this, where he can just hug the touchline, use his strength, which is taking on people one-on-one. And then sometimes his shooting ability is good, and sometimes it's not. This game kind of showcased the best and worst of Sterling, which is he's always there to receive the ball, to run at the defense, but then sometimes his final third passing is just unbelievably bad. But then, man, another game where Mudryk was just embarrassingly bad. Like the one good run that he had into the center of the pitch, he didn't make the pass, which he should have. If you don't make the pass, then you better at least get the ball on target. And he hit it so far into the stands, like I think the ball just disappeared. Like I've never seen a professional player with such bad shooting, right? Because sometimes it comes off great. Sometimes it just seems like he doesn't have the technical ability to do things consistently. So he just hits the ball as hard as he can and then hopes that it goes well. And if it goes well, it looks incredible. But when it doesn't go well, it's embarrassing as hell. Like I probably can take better shots than that. And I'm not even a pro player. So, man, I think the less said about Mudryk, the better. And then lastly, let's talk about Omarodian. I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. it's another young player, another prospect that we're paying a decent amount of money for. 35 million pounds is nothing to really scoff at, but it's also not so much where he has the pressure of needing to succeed immediately, and he doesn't really take the pressure off of the other players in terms of him having to start, right? So I think this is what's going to happen, is that Jackson is still going to be our starter. And then depending on the opposition, we're going to either bring on Guiu if we need someone who's just a little bit stronger and better in the air, or if we really need like just a target man in the middle against like a big, tall defense like West Ham, for example, then Omarodian would be perfect. He's huge. He's 6'4". He's really fast. He can hold up the ball. Just physically, he's going to be a presence, and defenders cannot ignore him, which is, we haven't really had that kind of presence since Diego Costa, to be honest. So that would be a good backup option to have, and it's completely different kind of striker profile to Jackson or Guiu. So I understand why we went for him. It's just kind of exhausting having so many new players. All these players are going to need time to get to know the team. And most importantly, they're going to need game time. Like, I don't understand how we're going to fit Jackson and Cuckoo, Palmer, Madueke, Sterling, Guiu, Omarodian, Carney, like all these final third players. Like, there's just no way we can give them each enough game time that they all need to develop into the prospects that we bought them for. That's just not possible. Now, I get it. If just a handful of them turn out to be world-class, then it's a win and we made a good choice. But we still need to nurture that talent and get that talent time to flourish. And my big fear is that we are just overcrowding the team to the point where no one's getting that chance. And then everyone is going to regress because of it. Or you'll have players on very long contracts who are very unhappy that they're not playing. And one more worry about Omarodian. In the things that I've read about him and the highlights that I've watched, his first touch is not great. It is very heavy. That's never a good sign for me when it comes to players. You kind of don't improve your technical quality after your late teenage years as a player. You can improve your game knowledge, your experience, your calm and composure, but technical ability, especially like a first touch, that does not just magically come in your 20s. Right, so that's a big worry, is that his first touch is very heavy. We play a very technical system. So unless our plan is, if he's on the field, for him to not be involved in build-up at all and to just stand in the box and keep people busy and be a poacher, which if that's the plan, so be it. That's fine. But I think expecting him to be like Jackson, coming back, taking a good one touch, spinning the defender, going on, or making a good one-time pass, I just don't think this is the right type of player for that. But hopefully I'm wrong. Anyways, overall I'm still very much looking forward to the beginning of the season. Next game is going to be tough. Inter Milan are a solid team. I'm pretty sure they won the Scudetto last year. It's a very experienced team, very good manager. So this would be a very, very interesting test for us, because this is a very different team than any of the ones that we played so far. What I mainly want to see is, have we even started to work on defense? That's all I want to see, is that for our high line to not be so high and for our midfielders to put pressure on the ball when we don't have it and to track back and help out in defense. Those are the things I want to focus on. And then, of course, I'm curious to see what more Guiu can do. It'd be great if Jackson is back from injury, because he's training with the team now. If he can even get a little bit of training, game time, that would be great. And then it'll be very interesting to see what Omarodian can add to this team. And I think Cole Palmer is back too with the team. So, man, what a boost it would be to see him get a few minutes in the next game too. So, lots to look forward to. See you guys after the next game. Peace.